Hello friends, my name is Marinés, and exactly no one who knows me will be surprised that I was super ambitious in August, and August also turned out to be a really weird and wonderful and busy month. Just in the reading stuff alone, there was the Booktubeathon and Man Bookering and my vacation reading. I just want to read all of the things, so when I'm planning my reading, I'm like, I know, I'll read all of the things. I didn't actually read all of the things this month, but here are the things that I did read. Number 1, Lumberjanes by Noelle Stevenson, Grace Ellis, and Brooke Allen. This is a graphic novel about a real weird summer camp and the tough ladies who find weird things there. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars and thought it was just very light and quirky fun. The plot was kind of all over the place, but it made me laugh at times, and I liked all of the different characters, even though it was a little bit tough at times, especially in the beginning, to keep track of who was who, because it's a cast of characters that is introduced to you very quickly and then it's over before you know it. The art was fantastic, I really enjoyed it, and the theme of the graphic novel. Between the issues, at the front of every issue, there was a page that was just basically a page of the handbook or the guidebook for the camp, and it tied into what was coming in the next issue. There were pictures from the previous issue, and it was just really fun to look at. The second book that I read was The Fellowship of the Ring. It's a funny story because before the Booktubeathon actually started, I got impatient and I started listening to my audiobook copy of The Fellowship of the Ring, which happened to be the BBC dramatized version. I absolutely devoured this like in a day or two, and it made me want to listen to and read the unabridged version, so I picked that up next. I'm planning a whole separate video about my obsession, but I just enjoyed it so much more than I did when I read it for the first time. Something clicked for me this go around. I just fell in love with the characters and the story, and I didn't even mind the descriptions of the trees and the land. And on that note, this month I also finished The Two Towers. Again, I enjoyed rereading this much more than I originally enjoyed reading it. I will say that I enjoyed this book slightly less than The Fellowship of the Ring, just because I felt like The Fellowship had more of like the road trip aspect of it, of like the going place to place element. With The Fellowship, even though this was my first reread, there were things that I remembered and I thought, oh, this thing comes next, or this person comes next, and I really loved that about The Fellowship. I felt like The Two Towers focused a little bit more, especially in the beginning, on like battle scene parts of it, and that's just not my jam. It might be somebody else's, but I liked what The Fellowship did a little bit more, but still loved this a lot. The fourth book I read was The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison, and again I picked this up for the Booktubeathon, which yeah, I quit that. Not this book. This book I finished. It's the second Morrison book I've ever read, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I found this more accessible than Beloved, but the narrative style was still quite jumpy and it lacked a little bit of cohesion. We started one place and we just ended somewhere completely different and difficult and just heart-wrenching. There was a lot here that I found super thought-provoking, and I found myself lining up my own experiences to what Morrison was talking about through her narrative. I'm really glad that I read it. I think it's a thing that people should read. I don't know if it's a thing that I could ever revisit. The fifth book I read this month was Vicious by V.E. Schwab. I always struggle saying Vicious by V.E. Schwab. I'm planning a separate review video about this, mostly because I really enjoyed it and I don't talk enough about the things that I really enjoyed, so I'm going to review this a little bit more in depth. I thought it started a little bit slow, and in fact I think I put it aside about halfway through and forgot about it for a good long while, but when I picked it back up I just flew through the end and thought that the slow beginning was totally worth the crazy character study that this book gives you. I will recognize that it took me a little bit to get into it, so I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. The sixth book I read this month was Uprooted by Naomi Novik, and I loved this one too. I read this while I was on vacation, so that might have a little bit to do with it, but I thought it was just such a great book to have. I was reading it on a train actually from London to Edinburgh, and it was lovely. Perfect travel reading. I think I said in my brief Goodreads review that this was not anything that was life-changing or really groundbreaking, but it was just really well done. I take issue with things that people say are, oh, I read it really quick, it's just for entertainment, as if that means it's allowed to be bad. Here's a story that I thought was really good and well written and like just a quality story, even if it was just something to consume quickly and entertain you. I will actually read this book again though. I feel like it was enough fun for me to read that I would go back and revisit it for sure. I was a little bit icked out by the male character, the dragon, just because he was a jerk, but he seemed to be like a universal jerk and not just specifically a jerk to the female in this book, which kind of softened the blow for me. And also I warmed up to him a lot. Like, here is a character who is not great, like not a great dude on the surface, but it, you know, he was trying to do the right thing, trying to protect people and that sort of stuff. So as far as the romance, it was pretty much in the background. Like, I was okay with how it was done, except for one moment where it was like, really, you guys are gonna do this right now? Not the time, not the place, people. Move it along. Other than that, just a really fun story, as I said. I don't know what else to say about it. When I was sitting down to review it on Goodreads, I didn't know what the words would be to describe it, because I just enjoyed reading it. I immediately picked up more from Naomi Novik because I thought that she just wrote with so much fluidity and so much ease. It really took us along her story very, very well. So I picked up His Majesty's Dragon, and I am freaking enjoying that one too. So I'll talk a little bit more, I'm sure, in my next month's wrap up, because I will be done with that soon. If I put more and better words together about why I like this book so much, I would probably do a separate video, but don't hold your breath. So that's it. That was my reading month. Womp womp. Not even one Man Booker book finished, even though I was like, that's all I'm gonna read this month. But one graphic novel, 5 books is a pretty decent reading month for me. If you've read any of the books I read this month, let me know what you thought of them in the comments below. It's been a little while. It's great to be back. I'm a little rusty. Making this video was interesting. But thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys soon. It's a funny story because because I cannot talk.